The Rococo Era and What It Says About the People of the Past by Savannah. The Rococo era occurred between 1740 and 1770. Rococo artwork included art, decorations, and architecture that were very ornamental and over the top. Rococo artwork often showed sensual and even scandalous scenes. These paintings were meant to illustrate fun and whimsy. They often showed gods, such as Venus and Cupid, beautiful women in elaborate dresses, known as Rocaille style, and nature. Rococo art was also all about showing love and drama through pretty pastel colors. In fact, the three key characteristics of Rococo art are mythology, color palette, and fête galante, which refers to women dressed elegantly and put in flirtatious situations. Rococo art represented all the wealth and advantages of aristocratic life. These paintings showed elegance and wealth with a combination of a light and airy feel. This painting is titled Venus on the Waves. It was painted by François Boucher in 1769. This painting depicts Venus resting comfortably on waves that almost look like soft clouds. She is draped with fine fabric and flowers brought to her by putty and doves. This painting is a classic example of Rococo art. The pastel pink and blue-green color combination is fairly common. The soft and sensual nature of this piece really speaks to the period as well. In fact, I was drawn to this piece by the soft colors and scenery. This painting is titled The Swing. It was created by Jean-Honoré Francard in 1766. This painting shows a woman swinging in a park. A young gentleman has convinced an older gentleman, thought by some to be a bishop, to push his sweetheart on the swing while he watches and admires her from below. The young lady is shown flirtatiously kicking off her shoe towards the statue of Cupid. This painting is beautiful, and it's a perfect example of the Rococo style. This painting is recognized as one of the most famous Rococo paintings there are. It is the perfect balance of sweet and scandalous. The warm pinks and blue-green colors complement each other so well. The contrast between the woman and the rest of the painting really highlights her as the main figure. The composition lets your eye wander throughout the piece to figure out the story. The pastel colors really drive home the sweet and flirtatious nature of the artwork. Such playful and sensual scenes were popular among the elite clientele Francard served. I was personally drawn to this piece by its beautiful nature, bright colors, and emotion and movement. This painting is titled Cupid a Captive. It was painted by François Boucher in 1754. The subject of this painting depicts Cupid being captured by Venus and the Muses with flowers. Despite Cupid enjoying being captive, even Venus cannot pull Cupid away from uniting lovers. I was drawn to this painting for several reasons. The beautiful and soft figures, the pink and bluey-green color palette, as well as the flowery scenery with plants and statues. The sensual and soft nature of this painting is also very classic for a Rococo painting. The painting has a really interesting contrast composition where your eye is drawn to look at the areas lightest in values like the figures. We can also observe some atmospheric perspective in this painting, with the background getting lighter the further away it is. The Rococo movement was one of the most influential periods of art history. When Louis XV took on the role of King of France, a kind of revolution started. Louis XV loosened the moral codes and strict rules were no longer a concern. Under his rule, pleasure was more valuable than prestige and power. Many people from the French court moved from the palace in Versailles to their Parisian estates. This physical and ideological separation from the church gave artists a newfound freedom. Artists can now paint what they wanted, and they no longer felt the pressure to only paint religious works. Artists created more erotic scenes and paintings that emphasized mythology rather than the propaganda-influenced art that was popular before. Many Rococo paintings included Marquise de Pompadour, the mistress of King Louis XV. She also helped feminism take root during the Rococo period. As Enlightenment ideas gained popularity, women played larger roles than before. However, they still did not have many rights or privileges. Madame de Pompadour was known as the godmother of Rococo. Parisian ladies like Madame de Pompadour actually had significant influence in the political and intellectual landscape of the Enlightenment era. Many influential women were hosting salons where the greatest philosophers, writers, and artists gathered. Due to the influence of women in Parisian society, paintings became more feminine. One of the main criticisms against elite Parisian society during the Rococo period was that its artistic styles, customs, and powerful presence of women was too feminine. Most men during this time saw the need for clear-cut gender distinctions. Rococo became synonymous with the patriarchal fears of the time. Many were scared of the growing power of women in Parisian society because the self-made woman posed a real threat to an already struggling French court. However, sexism was still very prevalent, even for female artists. Art was traditionally seen as a masculine line of work. However, several male artists such as Jacques Louis David supported the training and education of women in the arts. Sadly, despite some female painters of the time rivaling the masters, no female artist was introduced into the academy as a history painter, which was the highest form of painting at the time. Some women, like Vigée Lebrun, challenged the obvious discrimination by not only painting beautiful works that challenged the skill of male painters, but also blurred the distinction between genres. There are several pros and cons of the Rococo period. The pros of the Rococo period was it started a feminist movement, it created a separation of the people and the church, it created a separation of art in the church, it gave artists from this time period freedom to paint what they wanted, and there was less propaganda embedded in artworks. Some cons of Rococo was it caused anti-feminists to grow in numbers, and the feminist movement died when the Rococo period died. That is the end of my Rococo era presentation. I hope you enjoyed.